Hi everyone, my name is Jill. I'll be presenting today on dynamic forms. So why don't we get started? Okay, so my topic today is going paperless on Yale campus. My name is Jill Bassett and I'm a dynamic forms business analyst. I had joined Yale back in 2007 as a consultant. And in 2018, I joined the Student and Academic Support Systems in ITS as a full-time employee. From there, I took over managing the dynamic forms technology and developed a structured support process to help acclimate the new form designers to dynamic forms. And we're always continuously looking for ways to improve the support that we provide to the designers, the admins, and the applicants. So what is dynamic forms? Well, dynamic forms is owned by a vendor called NextGen Web Solutions, and the license agreement that Yale has with them is where we pay a base fee and then allows unlimited users. But what exactly is dynamic forms? Dynamic forms provides a simple way for non-technical users to take any paper-based form and quickly build a sophisticated, interactive, electronic form that can be published anywhere, such as SIS portals, your Yale website, or even include it in an email. This secure, state-of-the-art workflow solution allows you to focus your energies on other tasks instead of having to manually process, track, and store documents. So we have a dynamic forms ITS team here at Yale, and it consists of 2 business analysts that will help you build and support while you build, a developer that creates the banner application programming interfaces, or APIs, and we offer a few options if you want to build a form. You can either build the form on your own, or we can build the form for you with the caveat that the delivery is based on the BA's capacity, as we currently have a waiting list. And we're about to add a third option where you could pay a few $100s and NextGen can build it for you. So this year's theme, today what I wanted to do was go over some of the benefits of using a paperless form, show you some examples, and then explain what it takes to actually create your own paperless form. So the theme of this year's conference is strengthening our network, and we want to do that by empowering the functional owner to initialize a change that will automate their business process that was once manual and labor intensive, as well as connect Yale campus by allowing the students, parents, advisors, deans, professors, faculty to access, approve, and submit those forms online. This is all in an effort to eliminate paper and increase the efficiencies in our offices across campus. So wouldn't it be nice if we could help you or your department automate portions of your business process, make it easier for the applicants to complete the forms, for approvers to submit their decisions, and admins to process, track, and store the form submissions, or replace that with a completely automated process that actually updates Banner for you. So paper to paperless. Let's talk about paper forms. With a paper form, what do you have to do? Well, first, you have to actually pick up the form, whether that entails going to the office and actually grabbing it, or printing it off online, but then you need access to a printer, you need ink, you need paper, and once you have it, you've got to fill it out and hope that you don't make any mistakes or misspell anything and that they can actually read your writing. Once you have that, you've got to go find the approver. So whether you set up a meeting or run around campus, you got to get that approver's actual signature. From there, you got to hand it in, so that entails going back to the office. And then once you hand it in, hope that it ends up in the right hands for processing, and then it doesn't get lost in transition. So what about security? Well, really, what security? If you have sensitive data on that form and you lose it running around campus, your data is out there. The other thing we hope that doesn't happen, but it's very easy to forge a signature on a paper form, and there's no type of validation to ensure that the person actually submitting a form is eligible to submit it. So what about paperless forms? Here's the difference. Paperless forms can be accessed online, so for both the applicants and the admins. We can pre-fill fields based on the user profile or any of the data available within Banner. That data can also be used to do validations within the form. So for instance, if the form should only be filled out by PhD students, we can go to Banner, validate that they're a PhD student, and if they're not, display an error message on that electronic form that states, "We're sorry, but you're not eligible to submit this form." That helps to improve the accuracy and reduce errors. Once someone fills out the form, we can have it automatically notify those approvers so that they're aware when they need to come in and fill out their section. And they can access it online from anywhere. So even if they're on vacation halfway across the globe, they can still access and approve that form. Once the form submission comes in, it triggers that update to Banner, which reduces the administrative support needed because you no longer have to manually enter those, no longer have to manually key in those entries. And then security. We leverage Yale's central authentication service, where you just enter in your net ID and password so you know who that person is when they enter the form. And if there's any sensitive data on that form, we can have it marked as confidential so the next participant coming in won't see that sensitive data. And Dynamic Forms also provides automatic tracking as well as audit trails. So some other advantages to a paperless form, besides the fact that from end to end it improves, simplifies, and automates that business process, is that there's no cost. The license with the vendor allows that unlimited users, so why not take advantage while it's available? And there's no more paper, so no more filing, no more folders, no more physical need for storage. And our financial requirements normally require you store it up for 7 years, so Dynamic Form actually stores it up to 8 years. And let's see here. It'll improve your workflow because it's now easily accessible. It's faster because it's automated, so it continues to move forward. And it's completely hands-off, so there's no manual work effort needed, which in turn reduces the support time and effort needed on both the front end for the applicants submitting the forms and on the back ends for the admins processing the forms. So it sounds great, but does it really exist? Here we have a great example. It's the graduate school 7th year extended registration form. The participant experience is that they would come in by clicking on a single sign-on URL, which is up top here, and you can embed it into text so that it's much shorter. But once they click on that, it would then dump them directly into the form where they would see their section. Some of the fields will actually be pre-filled for them. Some others you can configure so that as they're typing, it'll fill in other fields. And they also have the ability over here to upload a file within the form. Once they do that, they then would sign at the bottom, the date's automatically populated, and they submit.
Is that something on the web now that we can go to and so I can show my superiors?
This form is currently live in production. However, because it's for the student, you may not get the benefit of actually seeing the data pre-filled, but I can set up something else so that you can access it and see as if you were a student.
So related to that, given that this is a grad school form, are graduate registrars aware of it?
Graduate registrars.
Yeah, so the registrars in each department
Yep.
that care for and maintain records for students in the department, and this is the kind of form that a lot of people would be really happy to know about.
Yep. Well, so the graduate school, was heavily engaged in the creation of this form, along with the DGUSs, the Directors of Graduate Studies.
Yeah.
Yep. So they are aware.
So the registrars report to the DGSs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So after the student fills out their section and they submit, an automatic notification is routed to whoever the approver is. Via notification email, and again they would have a single sign-on URL that they click on. They can also then view the uploaded file. They view everything that the student filled out, including that uploaded file within that form, so they can use that to help make their decision. If they decline, the workflow ends right there and the submission stored. If they approve, the form submission then triggers that update to Banner.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Integration with Banner. Have you got any integration going on with Workday?
So right now, it's easy for us to do the integrations with Banner because the team I'm in also supports Banner. Dynamic forms can be set up to integrate with other systems, but we would need to identify the correct department and ensure that they have the capacity and would be willing to create those APIs or application program interfaces. Yep, so if that was of interest, we can kick off those discussions with the other departments and then see what's feasible. Yep. So some of the other features that form leveraged was, as I stated, the pre-fill fields. One's based on the user profile, which provides basic information such as their legal name, their preferred name, email address, net ID, things like that, or any data that's available within Banner. That way we ensure consistency and accuracy, because one of the most common issues we found is that folks misspell email addresses or email addresses for the approver. So we can actually pre-fill those fields by checking Banner. They also enabled the ability to upload a file within that form. They applied the e-signature as their way of giving approval for the data that was entered within that form. And by adding the e-signature, you can actually enable the ability to prevent duplicate submissions. So if you don't want that person to submit more than once within a certain time period, we can enable so that they can't. It also uses multiple participants. In this form, the student initiates, and then the director of graduate studies or a proxy does the approving, but you can have as many approvers or people come in and fill out different sections as you want. They also use a conditional workflow, where conditional rules will identify the appropriate person or next participant to come in and fill out the form, so that way it sends or routes that notification email to let them know it's your turn. Confirmation emails and notifications. Like I said, once a person fills out a section, they'll receive the confirmation email stating we've successfully received your submission, and a notification email will go to that next participant with a URL so that they can access their section. Let's see here. We also had created a custom email API which notifies the administrators that are outside of the workflow, because they just wanted to be informed on each form's progress. And then once the form submission comes in, it triggers that update to Banner, so it uses data within the fields or within the form to update the Banner tables. And we also created an error log so that the admins were aware if there were any issues updating those Banner tables, and then also lets them know which records were successfully updated to the Banner table. We also have an app extender integration where the form submissions are automatically indexed to the AppX student profile. So another successful example of a build that was done in significantly less time just because it had less complex features was the sophomore year college advising form. So this one, the student initializes the form, they fill out their information, it's then routed to the correct advisor for them to approve, and the advisor is identified based on the conditional rules applied to the workflow. They have the ability to either accept or decline, and if they decline, let's say they can't advise next semester because they're not here, the request then goes back to the student to allow them to then change the data entered within the form or pick a different advisor, and then it's resubmitted and follows along the workflow process as normal. So automating the entire process, that doesn't happen overnight. So the best way we suggest to folks is to do it in 2 phases. So the first phase would consist of actually building the form with the questions, content, and layout, as you see here, and maybe applying some of the complex features. And that kind of gives time for participants to get used to the actual process and admins to get used to the features. And you can fine-tune the form and adjust as needed based on feedback. And then in the second phase, you can enhance it to include those more complex features, such as a new custom API that would update a Banner table, because you need that time to create it, test it, and move it to prod. So the 2 phases gives you enough time to identify those identify the mapping needs in the design, and move it to production. So what does it take to actually create a paperless form? We have 4 phases, but really it's 2 main phases. So the first phase is requirements and design. That can be done by the department, or if they have an existing form, paper-based form, or a Qualtrics survey, that makes it easy to replicate. And then the build phase, where ITS will support you by helping you get acclimated to dynamic forms and teach you the basics, as well as provide different areas of support. We'll also ensure that your form is ADA, American Disabilities Act, and WCAG compliant, which is the accessibility. And then the testing phase will help you prep for testing, help you identify the different areas to focus on when things are displayed, and to ensure things are working as expected. And we'll also help you make the modifications on the fly as needed. Testing normally is pretty quick and can be done within a couple days, but as you add more complex features onto it, it extends out that testing time frame. And then implementation. So the best part about that is we don't have to wait till Thursday. Dynamic Forms doesn't have dependencies like other systems. So really our only dependency is if you're going to use a new or modified API, that must be moved to production first. But other than that, we can move the form to production whenever. And then there's the admin support. So ITS will provide training once the form's in production or prior to help those admins understand the different options for either viewing the submissions or processing and tracking. So one option is you can use the Dynamic Forms site, and they have different queues set up so you can differentiate between submissions from different terms or different academic years, or you can just archive them. Another option is to access a shared folder. If you have an existing shared drive or storage at Yale, we can use that. And that's where we set up a Dynamic Forms exchange process where it retrieves the form submissions, including those uploaded files within the form, and places them into that shared drive, which as an admin, you can just click on a simple desktop shortcut to access those form submissions. Or you can have it automatically indexed to Apex profile. And for our admin training, I normally set it up for about an hour, but we're normally done within 30 minutes just because the interface is so easy. So another ability I want to mention is you have the ability to export to Excel. So the form submission, all the questions and all the responses, or just the submissions you want to look at, export it to Excel, and then leverage those analysis capabilities from there, which a lot of our folks have liked. Okay. So creating your own paperless form, what's the benefits? Well, like I said, there's not really technical skills needed. You get to set your own timeline and deadlines. You could build at your own pace, and you have complete creative control. And by you building your own form, you can better understand the details and features and the process and which options are configurable. And throughout the entire phases, the Dynamic Forms BA will walk you through our structured process to ensure all the tasks are completed, and we can prepare you for each of the upcoming phases. But the best part is that you don't have to start from scratch. Based on your requirements and functionalities needed, we can leverage an existing form that's already been built, put it in your sandbox, and then you can modify to suit your needs. And so like I said before, it's easy to use. There's no technical skills required. It's got a very user-intuitive interface with a drag and drop functionality. So some examples of form items that you can add are over here on the left, such as the tables, images, the ability to upload a file within the form, adding a signature. And then there's different formats for responses to questions, such as the short answer, long answer, the date picker, choice list, checkboxes, and radio buttons. Those are highly configurable, so you can restrict the number or type of characters in those responses, or set a min or max amount of characters they can enter, identify as just letters, just numbers, or if spaces are allowed. Or you can automatically format those responses. So if you know they should be entering a phone number or a date, a dollar amount, or an email address, Dynamic Forms will automatically validate that as they're typing it in. And then there's existing items. Existing items is Dynamics Form's version of a copy and paste. So you can easily move or copy and paste items along with their format and the way you configured those responses, opposing to have to recreate it every time. So that comes in handy if you're going to ask multiple participants the same question, or even ask the same question across multiple forms. A great example is our citizenship. If you ask someone what their citizenship is, that's a list of 195 countries. So instead of having to type that out every time, you can just leverage the existing items feature and it'll pre-populate all the values for you. And then there's conditional rules that you can have applied, and it's a simple if-then statement logic that either shows or hides specific fields and sections. And while you build, you also can preview in a browser view or in a PDF view so that you can see what the end result is as you build. So I had just given a quick snippet of the different form items, and then down here, these are all the ways you can configure those form items. So you're not writing code or anything like that. It's as simple as how you create in Word, you know, changing formats in Word. Except there's more choices here. So support as you build. So support provided while you actually build your form. We have customized training sessions so that we'll sit down with you for an hour and we can focus on your specific needs at that time. There's also the Dynamic Forms help feature, which is constantly being updated by NextGen, and it gives screenshots with step-by-step instructions. They also have Dynamic Form manuals, which explains how to use the features, how to configure those features. And we also have created a user group community, which is a listserv that actually Yale manages. And there, what we do is we share tips, tricks, troubleshooting, and we basically leverage each other's knowledge and experience. Right now, we have over 130 plus higher education institutes across the entire United States and over 350 plus members. And it's been very active. So if you hit an issue and send a question out to the group, before the end of the day, you'll have responses with a couple ways to resolve it and a few workarounds. So it's been a great tool. We also give you access to our Dynamic Forms Designer Sandbox. So there you can play with different features, you can view existing examples and see how others have configured different items or just use it for training. We have a designer SharePoint site which houses like frequently asked questions, how-to documents, the API repository to show you which banner fields are currently available to you. But what we're looking to do is replace that with a new Dynamic Form support site that we're launching in August of 2019. This will replace that SharePoint site, and we're looking to improve the way that you access your support information and documentation. So right now at Yale campus, we've got 16 departments across the university that are utilizing Dynamic Forms. When you start with Dynamic Forms, you get your own test environment in which you can build and test, and then your own production environment where your forms that are live will be housed. And so far, we've had a very high success rate for new forms that we've moved in production based on their submission rates. And we've also received a lot of positive feedback just from the Yale community as a whole. And for any issues that we've received for forms that we've moved to production, we're able to make updates on the fly to adjust and resolve those issues, so the turnaround time is very quick. So if you're interested in building a dynamic form, whether it's building your own or getting on the waiting list to have ITS build it for you, please feel free to email us. This is our email right here, and we'll respond and kick off those discussions. So, thank you very much. I'll take questions if you want now, and let's work towards strengthening our network together. Thank you, guys. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Oh. Either one.
My question just is there a way to get into the sandbox? Just, can we email you and you could give us access so we could just check it out?
Yes, absolutely. So we have that designer sandbox, which no matter what, we give everyone access to. So if you wanted to just go and check out some items and play around with it, even create some templates, yeah, just shoot me an email and I'll get you access. Yep.
What's the email again?
Oh. Email dynamicforms.its@yale.edu.
So is dynamic forms being used on campus for any legally binding forms like contracts or deeds of gift?
Not as far as contracts. So because I am in the department for academics, student and academics, that's what we mainly focus on is the academic space. But we do have forms that deal with financial aid and things like that. But it then adds, another compliance where we need to ensure we meet financial data laws, rules, compliance. Were you thinking of a specific area?
I work in the art museums and intellectual property area, so the two uses I was thinking of, one, we have deeds of gift where things are given to us by a donor, and also copyright licensing permission agreements.
Okay, so in that,
And that consists of a two-part agreement. One, would this be appropriate for something like that?
Yep.
Also, I noticed that Dynamic Forms as a vendor keeps things for 8 years. I would wonder if there was a way to export the data or
Oh, yeah.
another form that we could preserve it in our institutional.
yeah, absolutely. One of the options in viewing the form submissions is sending it to a shared drive at Yale. So we can just set that up so it automatically goes to the shared drive, or you can use the back end of Dynamic Forms, and then if you wanted to pull it down because you want to store it for more than 8 years, we could do that easily. And then for your specific department needs, we can build forms for you, but we leave it to that functional owner to let us know what compliance or laws that they would have to adhere to, because we're not aware of it. But we'll work with you to ensure that happens. Yep. Yep. Oh, yep.
So how is this different from Qualtrics? Do you recommend this if you have like more than one department that has to fill it out, or is it just the same if you have one person can use this?
So actually, a lot of our customers were replacing Qualtrics. So they had a Qualtrics survey and they're moving to Dynamic Forms. One of the reasons being is that Dynamic Forms allows a lot more capabilities than what Qualtrics does. One being, I believe, the fact that you can come in and have 2 different participants. There's the workflow capability, and then each item is highly configurable, the form items. So one thing I noticed with Qualtrics is that when someone enters in a response, there's not really any formatting restrictions around it. So if you're asking for them to enter in a student ID, they can enter their net ID, and you don't know until it's submitted. Here, we can actually pre-populate that net ID if you wanted, or do a restriction so they have to enter 9 digits only, no letters kind of idea. So that was just a few examples of why folks have switched over. But, yeah. Yep.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
The first, I work with students and we have application forms that are currently housed in Qualtrics for exchange programs. Is that something that could be turned over to Dynamic Forms?
The survey?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we house our application in Qualtrics right now.
You house the, when you say applications, like the forms or actual
It's like a
systems?
form, it's just,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
general like name,
Yeah.
short, and then there's like 3 short answer questions.
Yep. Yeah, we can absolutely, and that's what we've done with other departments across Yale, is we base it off a Qualtrics survey and then translate it into a dynamic form. And you have the ability to add a lot more features. And yep.
And then a question is, are students, would they be able to like save the form in any way if they wanted to come back and work on it later?
That's a great question, and yes, they do. So A is, while they're actually filling out the form, they have the ability to save, jump out, let's say it's a financial aid application, they've got to get, detailed information. They then can come back, log in, and complete that form, or jump out again. They can save as many times as they want until they submit. And then once they actually do submit, they get a confirmation screen saying we've successfully received your submission, or however you want to, whatever you want it to say to meet your needs. But it also gives them the option right there to actually view or print the PDF version so they can save it. And at any time, they can go back in and see a list of any forms that they actually submitted through Dynamic Forms as well. So, and then the same option with the admins. They can download each individual submission as a PDF file if they wanted, or they can download them all at once into an Excel spreadsheet with all the questions and responses. Yep.
So how does the access work? If I request access, is it just for, what if we're a team of 4?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone on the team has access to it?
Yep, and that's actually a common option that we've given. Is it doesn't need to just be one person. We can give access to as many people as you want. Yep, so if you have a few people building forms or even just a few people working on a single form, yep, we give access to both the sandbox and the production box and our designer so that you can play around. Yep.
Did you have to know about the organization where it's completely the other organization, not anybody else in the same organization?
Oh, yes, that's a good point. Yep, so when we give you access or set up your organizations or environments within Dynamic Forms, we'll set it so that you only can view your one environment unless you're, involved in more than one department. So there's no risk in someone seeing your information that's from another department or anything like that. Same thing with the submissions on the back end. It's only who you give access to that will see those form submissions. Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
So is this only within Yale? Or, so something like the parking form, they have to go to the health provider.
Mm-hmm.
Can this also work in like outside Yale?
You mean applicants?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So my presentation kind of focused on students that have a NetID and password, but you actually have the ability for folks that have no affiliation to Yale to access the form as well. It would just be them accessing through a different URL. So there's one URL if folks don't have a NetID and password, and if they do, we like them to CAS in through the single sign-on, because then as soon as they sign in, we can get basic information off their profile. Yep.
I have 2 questions. One on the security.
Yep.
I want to say the same thing, ask it differently.
Okay.
If I create a form and distribute it out to 5 managers, and those 5 managers then send it out to their 5 employees, can just the manager and those 5 employees see their own stuff?
You mean if they're actually filling it out?
Right.
Yes.
Right. So manager A sends to employees in the A group.
Yes.
And only manager A sees that. Manager B, we send it out to the people in the B group.
Yep.
Only manager B sees it.
Yes, so that would be part of setting up the multiple participants as well as a conditional workflow. And that way you can identify the only people that would be able to see those forms. So someone else, won't be able to access and see that data.
Okay,
Right.
The next question I have, it feels like the form is, you can work it until the time of submit. And then once it's submit, is that form closed? Or in that scenario that I just listed, could a manager and employee work on a form and say it's a to-do list?
Yep.
To do this, this, and this. And the form is kind of submitted, and then we want to know, yes, you accomplished this, you accomplished this. You can come back in and kind of put the dates in which you accomplished those tasks.
Yep. Okay, so that's a great question, and it's a 2-parter. So let me see here.
What I'm doing is looking at like a compliance type of thing where within departments we want employees to do these certain things for their own personal growth, and we want to be able to track it.
Yep.
Kind of a TMS-like thing, but different.
TMS?
Training management system.
Another application that's been around a long time.
Okay, gotcha. And so 2 pieces there. One is once a person submits and the form is finalized, no one else is coming in to enter data, you have the ability for them to change the data by using the reject, and that would kick it back to a prior participant, and you can select which participant. That gives them the ability to then alter the data that they had entered in the form. If that doesn't suit your needs, what we've also been able to do, we just recently moved the Yale system access request form into production. And what we did, because we wanted the assist support to have the ability to kind of put notes against each request within the form.
Exactly.
Yes, so after.
Like a completion date.
Yes, exactly.
You have these 5 things, and we did this, blah, 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 slight adjustment, this date, problem solved.
Yep, so what we did there is instead of after, so the authorizer came in, they stated, you know, I want to give access to this employee with their information. The user then comes in, they did the FERPA agreement to accept responsibility, and instead of closing the form out there so it's submitted, what we did is we left it open and added it in with the workflow and sent it to the SIS support system, so they can then go in and for each application that was selected to get access, they can put their notes in. And then, you know, let's say they save it, jump out, they come back in, and whenever it's actually completed, they can add their final notes and then submit, and then it finalizes the form so it's all in one place, which they really like.
That's a great solution.
Yep.
Because what it could be is for a manager and their employee could be working this in process
Yes.
workflow thing for a year, and then at the end of the year, click,
Yep.
it's done for this year, now we'll do it for the others.
Exactly. That's exactly what we did for the access request form. And that was nice because from my understanding is they get audited sometimes, so they have to provide the information and, you know, the details on the setup. So now they can just go to that one form submission and it's got all the details, not just the request and the user accepted the FERPA, but how they set up those accounts in their notes. So, yep.
Related to that, I'm thinking
Yeah.
that the logic that you have behind these questions, if to his example, if you had 5 items that the person was supposed to do and they only filled out 4, could you design it so that the finalize and submit button doesn't even appear until that 4th item comes in?
So not necessarily that the submit button doesn't appear, but we can do other things so that they can actually submit the form. But one of the pieces is you can mark fields as required. So when they go to click submit, an error message pops up and says, sorry, you need to fill out this question as well, kind of an idea. Besides that, though, we have the ability, let's say they're not eligible or something, to not necessarily hide the button, but do other things to prevent them from having the ability to submit. And we can also produce messages that pop up to let them know, you know, this is what you need to do before you can submit or things like that. Yep, yep.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the difference between that, you know, work in progress versus everything's done, submitting final.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Any other questions? Yeah, absolutely.
So, fabulous presentation.
Thank
Wondering
you.
if this is at all on the ITS website so that we can refer others to it, or if on the service.
So right now, we don't have the support site up and going. We have a couple articles that were in the ITS update news article kind of a thing about dynamic forms, but it's just kind of a summary or explaining what we've used it for. But in what?
Service now, like the ITS website, the services.
Yeah.
For dynamic forms, there's a service that you could make a request.
Oh, okay. There you go. And then we're also launching in August of 2019 the new dynamic form site, which is similar to the banner support site, and you'll be able to initialize requests through there as well.
Yeah, I'm thinking from, you know, for concept, like, hi,
Just
this
let
is
you know.
how dynamic forms works. These are all the bells and whistles, all the benefits.
Okay.
You know, that we could use it for, and, you know,
Yep.
and
So
people have an understanding.
yeah, an idea. And that's what we're trying to work towards right now. And we're going to have something like that on the actual website that we're launching, just to give an overview and give folks an idea of what you can actually do with this. Yep, along with some of the baseline templates that you can leverage opposed to starting from scratch. But in the meantime, you can go to ServiceNow to gain some information, or just email us and we can sit down and talk with folks and explain what we've normally been doing currently in our process. Is if we get a request, I'll sit down, and if you have an existing form, that's great because we can work off that, and then we kind of identify what the different functionalities you want to use and leverage are, and then identify a similar form template that already exists so you don't have to start from scratch, and then walk you through each of the phases. Yeah.
I do have one additional
Yeah,
question.
absolutely.
I'm wondering if there's a way for when somebody completes a form,
Yep.
and when they submit it, could that person, the submitter, get a copy of the finalized form?
So they do receive a copy, but so there's two ways. So once they actually submit it,
Yep.
they immediately on the confirmation screen have a little button they click to get view or download that PDF, which is the entire form. And then same idea is if they cast in, they can then go to their forms history within Dynamic Forms, and it'll show them everything that they've submitted, and any forms that are in pending status where they started it but didn't finish, they just saved and jumped out kind of idea. So yeah, they always, if they CAS in or have a user profile, they can always get to their past submissions.
Okay, and if that form needs other approvals, would they also see that it's pending approvals?
Yes, they would see that it's pending approvals, that someone else, a co-signer, is needed to go in there and fill out their section before the form is actually completed, kind of an idea. Yep. Same idea if you're an approver, you can go in and you'd see in a queue all the forms that are waiting for your approval or that you've done and just haven't been completed yet. Yeah. Yeah.
Earlier it was mentioned that somebody was using dynamic forms to replace some Qualtrics.
Yes, a lot.
A couple of questions all around that theme. Is dynamic forms a replacement for Qualtrics? Are there guiding principles for a person to say, this is a dynamic forms opportunity, or this is a Qualtrics opportunity? So does one supersede the other, or are there differences in the space enough that there are advantages for one over the other, and are there principles for helping to make that decision?
So that's a great question, and I do want to better understand what Qualtrics capabilities and limitations are. However, I really don't have much experience with Qualtrics besides the fact that a lot of my customers within Yale have come to me and asked to move from Qualtrics to dynamic forms, just because dynamic forms allows a lot more configurations and has the conditional workflow that you can apply with multiple participants, and also the ability to configure the actual form items, the ability to upload a file with it, just numerous things that they didn't really find suited their needs within Qualtrics. There just seems to be more options within a dynamic forms. As far as which one,
It would be an interesting checklist.
Yeah, side by side.
Of Qualtrics and dynamic forms. Do you want to do this?
Yeah.
This?
Yep.
And it would help people to make the decision, because we always like the new shiny object.
Yeah, yeah.
And, because of that, Yale has about 1,000 different shiny objects. And so with that, it would be nice to have a set of principles and guidelines to when to use one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the highest selling features is the fact that with dynamic forms you could do different types of integrations, one being with Banner. So not only can you use Banner to do a validation to ensure either that person should access that form and submit, or just to take the information and pre-populate it into the fields, or based on specific data within Banner, show them certain questions versus other questions. Well, I don't know if Qualtrics actually has that, but we're looking to move to put something like that on our new support site where it shows the differences between Qualtrics and dynamic forms. I know I have a bias because I support dynamic forms, but to help people in making that decision of which technology really is best for you. But when folks come to me and say, I want to create a dynamic form and here's the existing form I have, we go through the different features and functionalities to ensure that we can meet those needs, opposed to just jumping and saying, yes, let's do it kind of an idea.
People are using Qualtrics for training and things like that, and sometimes it's a one-off, just answering a survey, and it's nice and easy.
Yep.
I see a lot of strength in dynamic forms that get you excited, especially the workflow.
Yeah.
And a lot more form control issues. So again, there's pros and cons of both.
Yep, absolutely. Yes.
A quick question about the integration again. So, Salesforce and the integration with Salesforce?
Currently, no. Again, just because I am in the team for academic, but
you're saying it's a key component of the dynamic forms.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, outside of Banner, is there any other integration with anything else? Is that Yale?
Currently not, but again, if you were interested in doing that, we can contact the department that actually supports that, and then kick off those discussions of if they can assist in creating an API or application programming interface. But it is possible with dynamic forms, so it's just getting the capacity, the resources, and dedicated time.
If it's Salesforce has this kind of functionality. The challenge with Salesforce is that it's got some licensing issues. You got to pay for everything you're using out for each use case in Salesforce. This one we have enterprise license, it's not much, so we can offer to everybody. you start doing dynamic forms for financial use cases where you have workflow and you agree, you have formal, what is it, you sign off on agreements. That's where it started, and it's grown all the way.
I was just thinking because Salesforce right now, they had a good presentation before this, and they talked about the integration with Salesforce and Qualtrics.
Ah.
Both of those, because that does have some
Contract and Salesforce. Interesting. Okay. Oop. Yep.
So if you were to make a dynamic form, and then when you put it on your website, are you just linking it, or do you embed it? Is there a little preview shows up, or how would it show up if I were to put it on the website for people to access, I guess?
Gotcha. So I would give you a URL, and it would either be the external URL or the SSO single sign-on URL. But then it's up to you. You can put it anywhere. So you could place it on our website. You can embed it in text so that it's a much shorter than the long URL I just showed you. Yeah. It's completely up to you. You can put it in an email and send it to people to access. Right now, the most common we've seen is folks put it on their Yale sites. Email it to folks specifically saying, I think the sophomore year college advising form was emailed to all the sophomore class to let them know they had to do that. But it's really up to you. We'll make it fit, yeah.
Any objections to putting that super long URL into tinyURL?
Into what?
tinyurl.com.
What's that?
So it's a website where you actually
Oh.
a super long
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you just pop it in there, and it will give you either a super short URL
really?
or something that you can self-design.
Well, I guess I haven't really thought about that. Yeah.
Should be okay.
Yeah.
No security concerns. Okay.
But the other part is you can make it a hyperlink, so the text just says click here, and that it actually goes to that URL. So we really haven't run into any issues with the fact that it's so long. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah, just text and then state that if they click on that, it then goes to that URL. So we really haven't had issues with the fact it's long.
Faculty have issues with having text be a link, because I guess maybe if it moves through HTML to plain text or whatever, it might lose that link. So they want to have the actual address available for whatever reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
okay. Interesting. Yeah. Huh. But yeah, it should work.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. What was that again? I'll have to look into that.
tinyurl.com. Also makes URLs that make absolutely no sense.
That's nice. Yeah.
With that tiny URL, the big URL, it will create a URL that will make no sense.
Yes.
You can then put your own front.
Oh, that's nice.
You have the option
You can put a pseudonym on top of that tiny bit. I use that all the time.
Oh, that's really nice.
And so that way what you can do is you can make it look like your own, so it's not just this weird number that somebody doesn't know. So if you look at, when you create an account and you look at setting that up, there's a way to change the outward focus.
I've done that. My only issue with tinyurl.com is that I don't think, I've only used it a few times, I don't think there's a way for me to go in, say it's me, and have a list of the tiny URLs that I created. It's
you create an account and you manage it.
Oh, wow, creating.
I'll go back in and see.
And that's free?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
definitely got to check that out. Yes.
Just a question about submitting a request for access. If 2 or 3 people in your organization want access, could one person email this and just say so-and-so, so-and-so, and so, access?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just, have a reasoning. Would you need, net IDs or anything like that?
They're just their names. If they're part of Yale, I'm assuming. Yeah, if they're part of Yale, just their names.
Okay.
And we can just easily add them. Yep. Yeah, and if you want access, we'll also set up, if you're going to actually be building forms opposed to just checking out its capabilities, we'll actually create your own organization for you so that your folks will only see that kind of an idea. They won't, you won't be able to see other folks' stuff and whatnot. And you get the 2 environments, so you can test and build in the test environment and then the production environment. Yep. Any other questions? All right, amazing. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Have a good day. Thanks.